And that's actually what I was going to ask you, because I met somebody who was very concerned about Tallman House, and he didn't understand exactly what the kitchen was going to be involved. So I think it's a very important clarification to get out there.
A preparatory kitchen involves mainly just a lot of work surfaces, so your caterer can have surface space to work. Perhaps an ice machine, some refrigeration, perhaps your desserts need refrigeration during the duration of your dinner, and then lots of sinks for cleaning up, and obviously places for refuse. So that's really basic. We're not talking granite countertops. We're not talking a Viking stove with 12 burners. That would be a catering kitchen, and that's not what we're talking about.
Actually, I think that's a good segue to cover what's on the campus, what is included out there, because it's not just the Tallman House, and it's even more than the carriage house. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
Well, it starts to the, and because all the streets are angular, I get goofed around with my directions, but I think it's sort of southward. You start with the Helen Jeffries Wood Museum, which is where the archives are. And then recently, the house in between the Tallman House and the Helen Jeffries Wood Museum was purchased, and that is the Charles Tallman House. And we're looking at perhaps having archives moved into that house. There are many uses that are being explored for the use of that house. Then you have the Tallman House. There is the carriage house that is sort of behind the house. You can see it from the river. And then the last building is the Stone House, which currently has, does that also have archives?
Yes.
That also has archives and has some office spaces. Again, another thought is having the archives moved out of that building into a different building, and that building could possibly be used to lease office space, perhaps to a nonprofit organization or some other organization, again, to generate some revenue for the campus as a whole.
Sure. Reading over the business plan and the report, which is available online for anyone who wants to see, it struck me how many things that are proposed being done would bring the whole Tallman House experience into the 21st century and allow so many new people to rediscover what Tallman House is all about. It's just very interesting to see the changes that are going to take place. What are some of the stuff that you're most excited about, the changes that you think are going to make the biggest difference?
Well, I just think bringing people to the campus for different reasons. Lincoln may not mean everything to everyone. He is probably one of our most remembered and best known presidents, but that's not necessarily enough to draw people to the campus. If you give them over and over again, certainly not. If you give them other reasons to come to the campus, people will return for certain reasons. So say you get invited to a wedding there, and you get to either go inside or you get to have this experience out on the grounds. Or there might be an event held by the Rock County Historical Society itself that may be of interest to you, whether it's an antiques show or an art fair, something of those sorts. We're looking at all different types of ways that are going to draw people to the Tallman House or the grounds to make it more relevant to them. And then what that brings to mind to me is that all of those particular events are going to be unique because the Tallman House is such a unique venue. We're talking about having small weddings allowed inside of the home, where one of the main parlors and the hallway would be available. Or you could take your photographs, your wedding photographs there, or you could hold a small reception or have a business meeting there. These are all different reasons or different ideas that have not been utilized before.
Absolutely.
But imagine having a business meeting in this extremely unique and warm and beautiful setting. It's very different than a conference room in an office building somewhere. So the draw is that this is a unique setting for you. It may not be for everybody, but we want to give people different reasons to go.
And a big part of that is going to become to market those available services. Although I presume we're not, renting out the Lincoln bedroom.
No.
Brad, what was the most exciting thing to you about this? You've been with the city for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And you've seen so much about the Tallman House over the years. What's exciting to you about this development?
Well, I knew the Tallman House before I knew Janesville, actually. I went to a University of Illinois and studied historic preservation, and my major professor there, when I told him I just received a job for the city of Janesville, he said, there's this fabulous house museum in Janesville that it's called the Tallman House that you'll have to see, and it's a wonderful building. So again, the Tallman House is a symbol for this community, and I think that it is it's very important. Historic preservation is important. I think it draws people to the community. It's architecture, it's rich architecture, and I think that Meredith can speak to that. But I think that why it's exciting for me is that it's important, maybe not important to every citizen of Janesville, but historic preservation and architecture is important to a certain sector of this community, and that's what makes communities special. And this building, this museum, the venues that we're trying to complement the museum right now bring people to the community to either live here or to visit, and that's all part of economic development. And right now we're trying to increase our economic development activities in any way we can, and tourism is one way of doing that. And yes, it is a large investment. We're talking in total about $1.7 million of improvements needed to the Tallman House and the carriage barn. That's a very large investment, but we hope that with the city's support and with the support of foundations and trusts and the community members that we can accomplish this. And I think it's been done in the past. Project 640 that occurred in the 1990s that focused really on the inside of the home, making it, improving it on the inside, was very successful. We think that improving it on the exterior is going to be that much more successful and bring more people here.
And the 640 part was the 640,000 that
yes.
was raised.
Right. It was 640,000 raised at that time by the community and the city assistance, and it was spent for interior and some minor exterior improvements.
But I think the thing that's important point to get out is that there is a business plan, and this is going to bring more people to the Tallman House, and it's an important investment in our future. But at the same time, Tallman House alone is not going to, necessarily be the, turn our economy around.
Right.
This is about contributing to the overall atmosphere in the community, and it's an important part of it. And I think, I believe it was Rich Gruber who spoke fairly extensively about the fact that we need to look at the business plan in the right way, and we need to understand that the Tallman House may never fully pay for itself and those kinds of things. But this is about maximizing what we have right now.
It's also about making sure that members of our community can see this house and the grounds, the campus, for all that it's worth, not just a museum to tour. It is much more than that, and everyone needs to realize that. It's a pleasurable campus to go to. It's a beautiful location, and it will only be enhanced by having the exterior renovated and making it safe, and then also giving the community all kinds of wonderful reasons to go.